meat and curry, I'm your man. Cause how we all lose it is a mystery. It's like the changing of our wardrobes from a dire history. But it's the one making us not stop. 50 kilograms is all we've got to drop. La 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 la, la 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 la.
Hello, Mike. You right?
Hello, Mike.
How you guys doing?
Feeling good.
Very well, mate.
We've been very, we were discussing earlier, we've just been very, content for a few days, I think.
Oh, little pink cloud. Good. That's good. Good.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just kind of hanging out and working, that kind of stuff.
So we're just over halfway,
Yeah.
the 90 days. And you left it with us to try and tap into our feelings. So I think I'm getting a bit of self-pride back as I've been trying to tap into these feelings.
Okay.
I feel that I think it's related to the weight loss, right? I'm 16.5 kilograms down now. So that's what, 35 pounds
Yeah.
in 6 weeks. Everything's starting to feel a bit like everything's fitting better. I'm starting to wear all them clothes that I had at the back of the cupboard. They're starting to come back out. But yeah, I'm starting to get this like self-pride, I think, back. I think that's what I've been feeling recently.
Okay.
Which is making me think quite a lot about loads of different things at the moment. But yeah.
Well, tell.
But yeah, I remember back when I was in shape, I had this like maybe swagger about me.
Okay.
That I feel is coming back. I can feel it. It's like I'm not trying to just wear tracksuits on the weekend, go dog walking, and not really see anyone. I'm more kind of getting involved with things. Maybe there's a confidence to that that's come back that I
Yeah.
was subconsciously putting away when actually, yeah, even down to a little bit of self-pride. I'm like I'm wanting to look good. I'm not like just shying away from it all really. So yeah, maybe pride, maybe confidence, that sort of thing is maybe what I'm trying to get at, but I've been struggling to put it into words.
That's okay. So let me ask you this question. So this may be helpful for you and for a lot of the listeners for sure is can you articulate or find words for the feelings that are the opposite when you say coming back or changing or whatever? What was it like when you were carrying the weight or what?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's kind of, and I never felt this. It was just more, I'm starting to realize it now, right?
Yeah.
But it was more kind of just going through the motions, maybe being a little bit more reclusive than kind of outgoing and kind of going through, is it self-pride? Maybe just like getting on with it is probably the term. It's not that drastic, right? I wasn't in like this feeling worthless mode or anything like that. It was a bar above that. But yeah, maybe like a lack of pride maybe would be the right way of saying it. Which I appreciate is just spinning the same words to a negative, but yeah, maybe subconsciously I was kind of avoiding social events, avoiding this sort of stuff. Because I wasn't really comfortable in my own skin. Whereas now I'm feeling a little bit more confident, a little bit better, and it's all moving in the right direction.
Okay. So you didn't have a conscious thoughts of, not worthy or I'm not, I'm a piece of shit. I'm this. You didn't have those thoughts.
I have done on previous diets when
Okay.
I've kind of messed up the diets and ballooned out of control. I
Right.
felt like that when I was probably on my, if I look back at my wedding photos, my
Okay.
honeymoon, that sort of stuff, I was massive then. I was 168, so 300 and nearly 400 pounds.
Mm.
And I wasn't comfortable at all. I was like hot and bothered, but I think last year I kind of got a bit off, kept it off for a bit, which gave me half confidence. And now I'm just kind of rolling that over now to this, which is getting loads of results. So
Okay.
I was kind of most comfortable in my skin when I was boxing, and I was about 136 kilograms then. I'm only 7 kilograms off that now. So it's like touching distance away, which has made
Yeah.
me go, do you know what? All of that time where you've been beating yourself up because you're not at that weight, you're now
Yeah.
back. And that's where the confidence is building. The ideal will be down into the 120s, which I got to when I was the second fight I had. Yeah, I think I could get there now. And I think the confidence comes is because this method, I haven't killed myself to get to that weight where I did before. I was boxing and doing everything before, which was like training 6 days a week, eating nothing, and it was like just I was completely exhausted for that entire time.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like I haven't really exercised. I've been exercising more now, but the results are happening, which is giving
Mm.
me that immediate feedback, which is making me feel like I might have cracked this cycle of extreme dieting and not and then extreme blowouts and extreme diet. And I feel more like content that I'm not just spiraling out of control all the time.
Okay. Cool. So a quick warning. So when you get near that weight, and even most people, a lot of people rocket by goal weights, even, unconscious goal weights. And they just don't have realistic goal weights sometimes because they would be happy to be there. And you may get even thinner, you may even get to a place where people start to tell you you're too thin or something like that because they've never recognized you, never seen you, never don't know you thinner like that. So just keep that in mind. Seven
Yeah.
kilograms.
I've always wanted to be in the 120s comfortably where it's not really affecting
Yeah.
where I'm not having to train every day and do that sort of stuff. So while
Yeah.
I can see that on this diet, I think that's given me a confidence that I can get there without it being like too extreme. People would think this diet's extreme, but when you're doing it, it's really not that bad.
That's good. I'm glad you're saying that. It's true. It is true. It's not that extreme. It's just not eating the drug foods, You're eating food and whatever good amounts of whatever you want. You're just not eating the drug foods. That's the only separation, if you want to break it down to the simplest essence, if you will.
Which is in theory the bit that makes everyone scared, right? Because that's where the words like boring and extreme
Yeah.
come from, because it is a lot more boring than than when you're eating sugars and having ups and downs and highs all the time, right?
Yeah, exactly. The boring is because your nervous system, your reward system is evening out, leveling out, and you're not artificially stimulating it all the time with all this crap, and you're not crashing low and popping high and like that.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your how are you feeling, man?
Yeah, I feel pretty good at the moment. I've lost a ton of weight. I've weighed myself now and I'm at 146, so what, 14 and a half down kg.
Yeah.
Um, I decided to have my first haircut in 8 months. So if you haven't noticed,
Yeah.
I'm looking
You're
beautiful.
looking trim. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, baby. Also been getting a few like sunbeds. I don't actually say that you should because they're not very good for you. But if you compare me and Ian,
Yeah, I'm pasty.
I'm looking golden bronze. I'm looking like I should be out in like LA or something right now with you, Mike. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I've been buying new clothes as well because I've like fitting into some new sort of clothes that I haven't fit in before. So I thought I'd treat myself and get some more. Still doing a lot of self-care, so we've still been doing sauna and plunges. I've been actually chatting up a few ladies in there lately as
I've
well.
seen that live, by the way, Mike.
Yeah, Libido Tay is back, Mike, with full
All
force.
right. I told you.
Come
What?
on.
How tall are you? You tall the
I'm
same?
six. I'm 6'3".
Ah, so you guys are
with
both.
shoes on, 6'2" without, but no, don't tell anyone that.
Okay.
Yeah, so chatting up some girls in there, went for a massage today. Libido's completely back, gone like chatting to a few girls and got time for it. And I think the big thing for me, yeah, it's probably going back to what Ian was talking about, but mine was like maybe I didn't do things because I was ashamed to go out and like didn't feel like I was like not feeling comfortable if people around. Like I've got a sister and a mum, and my sister's mates and everyone. When they come round, I wouldn't want to go downstairs and let them see me in that. But now I'm sort of right in the heart of it and sort of chewing ears off and having a little flirt and that. So it's like I'm not hiding myself away as much, which is nice to feel.
Yeah.
And this self care side of things, like I just can't believe like so maybe for the last 10 years, I've probably sucked in my stomach every minute of every day of what I could consciously remember.
Right.
Like breathed in when I'm walking around, or if I see anyone, it's like holding the stomach in, like uncomfortably, probably.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm catching myself at moments and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not actually doing it, which has been like a subconscious thought that I have been doing like pretty much for the last 10 years. Yeah, so I'm on the up. I'm also like on diets before. I've not really kept like the motivation and things like that. Like at the moment, I'm keep telling myself in my head like this is the moment that you're actually gonna lose all the weight. Like this is it now. This is like you're gonna sort of do it rather than lose a bit and sort of bounce back. Like, and there's some bigger meanings behind it. Like, I'm sort of thinking like my dad always wanted me to be healthy, and like he was a bit of a Lothario himself, and he used to like love living his old age through me. Like when we go out, he'd chat up the mums, and I'd be chatting up the daughters. So it's always been something that he's really wanted me to do is to kick off the weight. And obviously
Right.
he died a few years ago now, and I've had that in my head to lose weight for that long, and like now it's
Mm.
like it's prominent in my head.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it a lot, and I'm like really sort of getting to a point now where I'm like, okay, I'm 6 weeks in. I haven't thought once about, okay, this is like boring or long or I can't be bothered anymore. Like it's like sort of a tunnel vision now to really sort of push on and keep going with it.
Okay. Cool.
That's where I'm at. Detailed analysis.
No, I like it. I like it. So a lot of the work starts now, really. Um, it's weird, but this is where it starts. And for the folks listening, while we're discussing weight loss, and in the past we've discussed food, it's important stuff, don't get me wrong. It's a byproduct of this change that we've gone through, which is finding the abstinence of flour and sugar and seeing the results, and caffeine in this program, then seeing the results in weight and self-esteem and um, feeling better about yourself. There is an adjustment. There will be an adjustment. There's going to be, I don't want to say a reckoning, but there's going to be a like another, and I don't want to bring this on. This doesn't have to be terrible, but you know, there's going to be like a crisis, a little bit of a, like I always tell people I need to be watched when things are going well, right? And this chaos that is or was your, you know, being overweight was a compensation for something. It was you know, I have a contemporary who I love, and I'm going to be in her book recently, or soon, but it's like, it's, she believes that this is just a biochemical repair of the brain. And I believe that. And literally, the only thing we disagree on is that underneath that, there's work that was created. Now, we kind of go back and forth. Was it the chicken or was it the egg? Was it, you are are compensating or numbing some sort of chaos, or your inability to deal with everyday stresses was dealt with the psychoactive drug that is sugar and flour and caffeine, like someone who drinks and is trying to cover something up, you know what I mean? Or is it that the addiction itself created this inability to deal with this stuff? And either way, whichever, like it robbed you since probably the womb, or maybe, when you were very young, robbed you of the ability to deal with stuff you didn't process it out normally and naturally, some kind of either everyday stresses or some kind of old trauma or like that. And either way, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're kind of recognizing that this is a brave new world. And one of the things that's super important to me as we move forward here is that you guys know Tony Robbins, the name, right? You know the work that he does, Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
And it's based on something called neurolinguistic programming. And one of the constructs of neurolinguistic programming is anchoring. You want to anchor yourself in good states. So if you're, winning at life or winning at an event or whatever, there's a lot of different ways. You make a fist, or whatever, you tap your ear, you anchor yourself to that feeling so that you can change your state at will. Okay. And so what's happening now is this change of state, this overall change of state, which you both described very accurately as a positive thing. And so what we want to do is continue that and anchor it and keep anchoring it, either find yourself a little clue, find yourself a little, but, and that's a big but, he is a big but, you know what I mean? Is that if something difficult or untenable or something you can't understand or something you feel weird about, or if there is a desire or a draw back to the substances, you got to write it down. If it's in between sessions, you've got to write it down, God forbid you slip or whatever, but you got to write it down, because that's the final work, that's the final recognition that you maybe have some work to work through these things. You know what I mean? It could be just an everyday stresses or strains, or it could be something older. Okay. Again, not everyone goes through this, but a great majority do. And it's this reconfiguring of your emotional life that would be the only thing that would stop you from getting to your goal weights. Again, the work and really the peace and the ability to live your life every day without the stuff, to change the behavior that's got you here, is the recognition and the identification of what you were numbing. And it likely, if it's like my friend, if it was completely it was completely created by the ingestation and the food system, then more power to you. And you'll just walk right through it and right out of it. But if it's not, we have to pay attention for it and look for it. I don't know which one it is. You guys, this is a new experience for me a little bit, because, I've been dealing with 95% women, and like having men, they lose weight very slowly. They go through the process very slowly. But this ability that you see such massive results in, women are going to be listening to this, and they're going to be saying, I wish I could have that kind of results weight wise. But I think that they are, in general, they process emotions differently. So anyway, just a little bit of a keep an eye out, be vigilant about it. Don't be, don't be overconfident. And not saying you are. I'm just saying because that could be as good a drug as sugar was, Don't let it become egoic. Stay humble. Just just kind of keep doing what you're doing, you know what I mean? But keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for how you're feeling. If anger comes up, if something comes up, whatever, make sure you write it down and bring it up on the next couple of shows. And, we need to set this up so that we have a check-in at least quarterly after the 90-day engagement. So any questions about that? I mean, I felt like I got a little out in the ether a little bit, but I want to make sure that you guys aren't pink clouding on me a little bit, And for people who don't know and haven't taken our course, a pink cloud is where you're just feeling so good physically that you can handle the world, and it's like the lack of the drug and then the rehab of the brain reward chemicals. So it's a kind of a high. And again, I'm not saying you guys are in that or that's what's happening, but I just want you to watch out for the other side of the equation, right?
If I haven't eaten, I find the cravings coming up far more
Okay.
than normal.
Yeah.
I always believe that my habits are all linked from stress, right? So I joined the company that I'm working for at 19.
Mm.
Prior to that, I had careers in 15 different jobs because I left school and didn't know where I was going. I think at the time, I remember my dad getting me a job, my first kind of office job with my uncle, and instead of giving me the opportunity to say what I thought my skills were, he was like, "He's useless. uh, please help him," that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I hated working there because I really enjoyed the company. I really enjoyed everything that was doing it, but I hated the fact that I joined a company on that premise. That's not what I'm
Mm.
about. I'm usually about kind of proving people wrong. So when I
Right.
got this job, it was more like my open window to prove everyone wrong, really. So the first
Mm.
like 5 to 6 years, I think I worked 20-hour days every day, flat out, and ended up kind of at the top of the tree and managing
Yep.
tons of people and this sort of thing.
Right.
And I think in the recent years, as a company, we kind of got invested into, there was a payout, that sort of stuff, and everything didn't seem like anything could go wrong. And then the second half of that was trying to get the company to an even bigger size, and it turned more into a giant company than that family feel company. And I really struggled with the people management element of being managed by such a kind of bigger organization that goes through troubled times. Like having to let go of a lot of people at any point would really affect me, because I
Mm.
remembered how it kind of impacted my life being given that opportunity at 19, and how the people around me in the small environment allowed me to learn from the best, and I kind of grew as the company grew. But then
Yeah.
having to get rid of people after like 2 or 3 months because the company wasn't on target or anything, I started really losing that vision of where the company was going and
Mm.
what my purpose was. My purpose was always to take people on, train them up. My mantra is like, I'm going to give them as much time and attention for me as possible to be able to get them to somewhere.
Right.
And when we're scaling at such a crazy rate, it's just like you just can't do that anymore. And for the last few years, I've kind of really struggled to get that place. And I think my weight gain has come off the back of that, which is coming out of a 2 weeks, 3 weeks of kind of firing people, in my
Mm.
mind, not quite right. It didn't sit right with me, or the direction of the company was like, let's move people around and try and build new businesses every 5 minutes, and there was no real plan and that sort of stuff,
Mm.
which then left me in a place where I was kind of trapped. I was like, this is against what I believe in, and I spent many years just, which was a huge part of my life, like that job and that change from being pretty useless to something was
Yeah.
was my identity, right? And being able to fix and train people and do that sort of stuff was my identity as well. So for the last 2 years, I've taken myself out of that frame and put myself into a sales role, and my emotions seem to be a lot more in check because I can deal with clients and not have to deal with the inevitabilities of a spreadsheet telling you who's right or wrong without any fact, rhyme, or reason. But I did notice that throughout that whole period of time, I remember last year, got married last year and had a honeymoon. And away from them two events, I think it was like the darkest year that I'd ever had, because it was just constantly being thrown into just more and more nonsense and more people trying to try to take stuff over and stuff like that. So I remember throughout that period, I would be waiting for a train with my brain just racing away with thoughts, and I'd be subconsciously just eating, just constantly eating sweet sugars, whatever, and just throwing it in my mouth before, and it would be 25, 30 minutes before I'd even realise what I'd done. And I didn't realise how big I'd got, and where I was also injured, I couldn't really work out, so there was no other release, and this sort of stuff. And I think I got to my point where I kind of stopped, realised where I was at, and then went. So this few months has been good to get me back on track, and now I've got the kind of confidence, swagger back to take that forward. I went back to boxing properly on Saturday, and I felt fit. I felt alive again. But I'm in a much better place with stress to not get me dragged into this, because this company's like, we still need to grow, we still need to get bought and this sort of stuff. So you never really get any pat on the back for anything you've ever done. So you're constantly like just constantly miserable, which isn't really a good place to be in. So yeah, I think for me it's like, I think I'm aware of where the holes might be, and I'm trying to not necessarily dive myself into something that's going to really stress me out. It's more focusing on stuff that I can tangibly affect, which is good stress, not bad stress, right?
Yeah.
Which is then giving me like a carte blanche license to be able to do these diets much easier. And now I'm kind of loading stuff up externally, which is, I've got tons of stuff on family wise, but I've got more time to process it. Whereas I just felt like everyone would just throw at me and my plate was getting too full before. And now it's kind of manageable. I can take stuff on, and I'm doing stuff a lot better, and I feel a lot more in control, for example. I think is that the point?
Yeah. So thanks for that. Look, I mean, this is very common, that men are attached to their career and job and money and like that. And, a lot of it is around that, their stress and it becomes unconscious, like you said. And so, and then this work will kind of separate those things so that the self-care, the family, the relationships with people outside of work, these kinds of things will take more of a precedence as you kind of calm down and through it. And hopefully you'll be able to deal with the relationships and not, have to work 20 hours a day kind of thing. And the relationships at work, I mean, and so you'll be aware of them, and you'll be able to say no, and you'll be able to, govern yourself so that your self-care is not neglected, and that if there's something that is stressing out, you're able to address it in a way that doesn't include food. So that's cool. I mean, it's again not uncommon that men are more invested in their careers, and the women are more, they're helping everyone with everything. They're people pleasing, quote unquote. And not to say you were, but you were in some level trying to please everyone and neglecting yourself. Their people, women's people pleasing is the kids, the job, the husband, the parents, whatever. They're pleasing everyone. And, men are more singularly focused, but the result's the same. You're kind of abandoning yourself, and being aware that you're coming back to your, homeostasis of it all is important. So cool on you. Taylor, what's your deal there? Tell me what's your how you're feeling. Same question.
I feel quite grounded, to be fair. It's like I know the pink cloud feeling, 'cause I get it. I've had it a million times before. Do you know what I mean? And that's usually a big reason to why I give up on sort of following through with things, because get too complacent or start feeling comfortable and then just revert back to old ways. So like I've got the self-awareness of where I'm at. Like yes, I feel good and I can do the self-analysis of knowing that yeah, I am doing more self-care. Yeah, I'm sort of making myself feel better and doing things that are going to really sort of help me out, kind of thing, or
Mm.
even look better, like or materialistic type of things or whatever. But there, I don't feel like I'm getting lost in it all. I feel sort of quite fairly grounded with it, just because I've got. I don't want to say a goal, but like it because it's not a goal. I haven't really got a weight goal. I've just got like a motivation to do it, and
Mm.
that's sort of like the underlining tone through all of this is like there's just a constant motivation which hasn't stopped. I'm like I come into these calls and like I think about getting like therapy and things like that, and I feel like okay, like I've got to try and open up. And in my head, I know it's not, but in my head, I think of therapy like being emotional and like sort of really tapping into emotions and stuff. And I just don't have that. I just don't have them like emotions ready because I just feel fairly like constant at the moment. I'm not
Okay.
really getting highest of highs and lowest of lows or things that are happening that are bad. I'm like, so for instance, a good example would be once again, I work with Ian, it's the same sort of work life, but in the sales side, I'd get emails at like 11 at night or something, and then I'd not sleep until 2, 3 in the morning, and I'd come in like constant anxiety, panicking about the day ahead kind of thing. Now
Okay.
I've like I got a call from one of my team members the other night about some bad news to do with work. Just straight away it was yeah, let's deal with it in the morning. Like, and I just turned off the phone and it went straight back to what I was doing in the evening and fell asleep quite happy. And on the train, like maybe had one or two thoughts about like solutions rather than what the problem was, but it was more sort of coming in and tackling that problem in a good way. Whereas that's not what I'd do before. And that might come down to some sort of brain clarity from the diet. That might come down to just where I'm sort of finding that middle path at the moment. But yeah, once again, I'm sort of, a few sessions ago, I mentioned to you around, like I was just floating and I didn't feel like I was like sort of like enjoying anything and like like I couldn't feel joy anymore, all of that. I'm sort of in the same position, but it's now not, I'm not looking at it as like I can't have joy. I'm looking at it more as like this is more of a stable state for me. Like I'm doing things that I'm enjoying. I'm being sociable and speaking to people that I like and that I'm having fun with and going and doing
Right.
massages and playing lots of paddle and I'm playing golf twice a week and going for sunbeds and buying some clothes and all of these sort of self-care things I'm finding joy in, and I'm sort of coming round to the thought that yeah, it's not the fact that I'm not feeling joy, it's the fact that I'm so used to hitting everything as hard as possible as like well I drink to get absolutely blackout or in my younger days like do drugs but have to do more than other people or like if I'm like whatever it is it's all or nothing. So
Mm.
I'm the constant, probably the epitome of the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Um, so yeah, I think that transition's been quite eye-opening to now realize that no, I'm not down and I don't need something to bring me back up. This is just pretty much like more of a level state, really, is where I'm sort of feeling. But yeah, in terms of Pink Cloud, I don't think I'm in that. Yes, I feel great. Yes, I'm happy, but I'm also quite grounded in terms of knowing that this is just the start. I'm nowhere near where I need to be. I'm nowhere near sort of the end goal. I'm just very self-aware that there are things that are actually starting to feel good now, and I'm starting to enjoy things a bit more probably. But that's my thoughts.
Cool. No, very cool. Very cool. So somehow it came to me that I wanted to ask as we kind of wrap today, but like how is the social part of all this for you? Like both of you, the non-drinking, and having a different diet than others in restaurants and family gatherings or at home. How is the social part of this? Is it difficult? Is it like, are you having trouble with it, or is it easy, or how's that part of it going?
I've done a lot of time sober where I'm constantly looking at the beers thinking I could have one of them now.
Yeah.
Whereas this is, it doesn't even cross my mind to have a drink. I've been to a couple of football games. The only downside I'd say is feeling knackered. Like I get to a point where I'm just like, I am completely dead here. But I think that's because I haven't eaten enough. But yeah, I kind of go a bit white, my eyes go a bit red, and it's like I've got to go home. I'm absolutely flipping tired as anything.
But you're more aware of that you're actually tired, right?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I definitely haven't. It hasn't got me to the point of craving. I think the difficult bit is trying to ask in a restaurant to just eat meat that's not covered in stuff. That's the difficult bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also the eye rolling you get on the table where it's like, oh, is he going to take forever? Are they going to spit in our food because he's asked for that? Which you get. Like, I've had that a few times.
I've had that, yeah.
And it's people just not understanding because the restaurant server will ask you if it's an allergy. And I'll just say, I can't have any flour, sugar, or sugar. Can you just give me a plate of meat? That's fine.
Yeah.
And then they're asking like loads of questions like, do you want the veg on the side? Do you want the veg for everyone else? Do you want it? And this sort of stuff? And I'm like, just get me a plate of meat. Like, I really don't care. I don't want to make a scene, but the waitresses, the waiters kind of make it a scene.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's the perception of everyone around the table that's worse than what actually happens because they just go like, how dare you waste their time? Well, they're busy and this sort of stuff. And it's just like, shut up, let me get the plate of meat and let's go.
I think for me, I'm quite lucky. I could imagine this being impossible for. I know a few people that their whole friendship crowds and socializing side of things is drink. I'm
Yeah.
lucky that I've got quite a few different friendship groups that doesn't involve that. Like I've got lots of sporty mates. I've got lots of sort of mates that have never really drunk much and things like that. So I've got a really strong support network and people that I can still do things with that doesn't involve going out. And then also I can go out with my mates that do go out and I obviously just won't drink. And I mean, I'm a bit of a handful anyway sober, so it's not they've probably got a drink to get up to my level if anything. So it's not necessarily the end of the world like that. And I don't mind going out. Obviously, I don't want to be out till 3, 4 in the morning, but like we used to. But I can still go out and enjoy myself, and they'd still enjoy me being there, even though I'm not drunk. But at the start, yeah, it was a difficult transition into having to buy certain foods and knowing what you can eat and what you can't eat. Now it's a bit more simple. Now because I know everything, it's like much easier to do it. I think you've just got to get over that initial period. I think that the only thing for me with the social side is like nice restaurants. It's not necessarily the food, it's like enjoying it that I can't do as much anymore. There are like there's limited amount of restaurants, like you have to limit yourself to like like nice fish restaurants where it's high end enough that it's fresh fish and things like that where you can order stuff or steak as well. It's not packed in anything and like things like that. So I think the logistics is probably more difficult than the actual not eating the sugar because yeah, you've just got to really.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point. You do have to step up your restaurant so that you can get what you need. You can't go
Exactly.
fast food joints at all, really. Very,
No,
very.
not even fast food. Like in England, we've got different restaurants, but like when I've sat down and I've asked them, they say, "Oh, it comes pre-marinated or things like that, or it
Yeah,
comes pre-bagged," and then you just know, okay, that's a piece of shit meat that they're just taking out of a bag and cooking quickly. So now it's now a case of like, I think I've spent like an absolute fortune the other day on a massive steak at a restaurant because I was going out for a nice high-end meal, but I was thinking that, yeah, I can't obviously sit down and have a really good steak at somewhere that's cheap because it's not going to come out how I need it to come out, kind of thing. So logistically, it is still difficult to have your social life because they're like the restaurants and things like that is really difficult and takes a lot of pre-planning. It's not like your mates saying, we're going here, do you want to come? Well, I could come, but I'll be sitting there awkwardly drinking my sparkling water, not watching you eat while I'm not eating. And so, most of the time, it's pointless doing that. Do you know what I mean?
I
I got
I
it.
I've found this time round that when you restrict alcohol, and let's say you're going sober for 3 months, 2 months, whatever it is, I think the sober crowd tries to get your brain in a place where being around drunk people is a bad thing. You're going to get bored around these people. You're going to do this sort of stuff, and
Right.
you go in with all these preconceptions of like, oh yeah, well they're going to repeat their stories and this sort of stuff. Where I'm focusing on giving up the meat and alcohol is something I can pick up and put down anyway. I've actually really enjoyed people's companies, regardless of alcohol or whatever, from the situations I've been in. I've been in situations where people are drinking like 10+ pints,
Yeah.
and it hasn't even battered. And I'm drinking fizzy waters. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
It's like I'm chatting to them the whole night, getting to understand what they are, and by the end of the night, they are talking complete drivel. But I'm not. It's not like this us v them type stuff. Like I really struggle with the sober stuff. I run a sober podcast, and the whole point of this is trying to understand it, and not normalize it a bit for people. But
Okay.
there's this like you don't drink, and then there's the ones who don't drink who are like, yeah, they would judge us. We don't drink. Whereas there's no judgment. It's just you and your feelings. And I've found that I'm probably better company whilst doing this to everyone.
Mm, yeah.
Interestingly, my missus wouldn't want to drink around me when I was sober, whereas now she's fine to have a couple of glasses of wine and do whatever. The only thing I
Mm.
will say is that my nose is like I can smell everything at the moment. I don't know if it's something to do with
Garlic
Sure.
bloody stinks.
I can smell I can smell if they had a drink the day before.
Oh,
I would be an incredible sniffer dog at an airport at the moment.
I've got that so completely. I went out with Frank and he boozed the day before, and I was in a golf course about 2 meters away, and I went, You was out drinking last night. I can smell it." And
Yeah.
he stunk like it was awful.
My
Yeah.
my
That's
brother got in the sauna, didn't he? And it was like I'm like,
that
did
gets
you booze at
stronger.
lunch? Yeah.
That gets stronger. You're like, when literally when someone's dying, when their diet is terrible, it's weird, man. It's weird. And I think we're all, humans are like that, but we're just covering it up. That's funny. That's really good. I have the same thing, and I'm like, you're behind somebody at the grocery store, and you're like, oh, whatever it is, everybody's, you can almost tell what the smell is or whatever.
Oh, it's garlic. It's the bane of my life. People that eat garlic, like I'm a massive fan of garlic. When I went on this, I have
Mm.
garlic on everything. That is the most pungent smell ever on anyone. I'm
Yeah.
literally smelling it and thinking, like, wanting to gag almost.
I can
Yeah,
smell
you can
curry
definitely
houses.
smell it coming out, and the alcohol is easy. It's almost like
Mm.
it's a given, that's
Like a must, isn't it? It's like it's
yeah.
hard to describe. It's like and I think in one example they hadn't drunk for like 24 hours, but I could still smell it on them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
That was Greg. Yeah, he was the
Yeah, it
night
was in the
before.
sauna, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
like
late at night, and he didn't drink since yesterday's daytime,
yeah,
and we could just he was just stinking of booze, isn't there?
stinking of booze. Poor sod. Everyone
Yeah,
else would have been fine with it, but we were just like, oh.
Us no sugar diet people, we're just turning our nose up at the.
I think it also, the no sugar, no flour, it accentuates it as well. It helps your senses. You got better sniffer abilities.
Hmm.
All right, so last thing, is there a goal that is maybe was unattainable that seems like maybe you could reach now? Not weight wise, let's leave that out.
Yeah. I
Like
can box
another
again.
Another goal, some other type of goal.
I can box again.
Okay.
That's I'm worried about my injuries, but I felt fit, strong, and I felt alive on
In
Saturday.
competition?
Yeah, I'd have a competitive match.
Yeah.
There's a fight in November that I could sign up to,
Okay.
and I think I could take it on. That's
All
the
right.
bit that's like giving me. Saturday was like I felt amazing.
Yeah.
Then for the last 3 days, I haven't really been able to walk because my calf feels so crazily tight. But one thing I say is I feel really good when I'm in there, but it takes me hours to recover. Like
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. It's like it feels like my whole body's gone, and I haven't really got much oxygen left. But I just put that down to not being that fit. But
Yeah.
in the session, I'm fit enough. I'm bloated.
Yeah.
I came close to throwing up on Saturday, which was like the first for me in a long time. So I know I am unfit, but
Okay.
it was like it took me like 2 days to get back feeling normal, which was a weird thing.
That's okay. It's like you're becoming aware of your body's real physical limits and recoveries, and that rest is okay, and like that's all right. That's okay. I mean that recovery, I mean, if that the recovery is probably more important than the exercise. So, treat yourself well and recover, and then the next time, and we'll just keep getting stronger, right?
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
feel like 10 times stronger from that one session. I feel like I'm.
Yeah.
Uh,
It'll get better, and the sessions will get better. And that virtuous circle that used to go downward is now going to go upward.
yeah,
How about you, Taylor?
Yeah, maybe I don't have anything in mind that's not related to weight loss as a goal.
How about landing the hottest model in London?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's less of a
again,
goal and more of a possibility, to be fair. So, no, I'm joking. Yeah, no, I think for me, control. I felt out of control for a long, long time.
Right,
Um, I've got that sort of that wanting to just have control over everything, which may be a bad thing, maybe a good thing. Obviously, there'll be
right,
things I can't control, but so in terms of control, like getting myself like sort of like not worrying about work and having that just set out for the next year and like control over all of my bills and having just constant sort of money there and building sort of like a little empire in the background and looking at ways to invest some money that I've like sort of been building up and controlling love life and emotions and controlling, obviously I don't want to bring weight into it, but control over my weight and my health. Like
yeah.
there's this longing to be in control again, but I don't know if I can call that a goal. Um,
Oh, it's it's personal development. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. One thing I find coming back very rapidly in everyone, and everyone's a little different. It's one of the reasons I asked the question is that a lot of the folks that take this on are seekers in general. They want to be the best person they can possibly be on all fronts. And so you guys seem to be embodying that. So that's
yeah,
great.
but maybe I need to sit down and actually think of like a an actual goal to look at because I haven't
Yeah,
really got one
I think
outside the weight.
that's good homework to figure out something that, it's a little bit of work too. Sometimes maybe before it might not have felt in range, something your ability, you were able to do or thought you might not be able to do. So,
come back
you
boxing.
you can stretch. With me, you don't have to worry about it if it sounds grandiose at all. Believe me, either one of you, like think of a bigger, you know, start to think of I mean, the old trite kind of coaching saying is, you have your life that you're headed towards has to be bigger than the life that you're leaving. But, above that, you have to specify it. So this is for me, I want to, in my communities too, I want to move it so that the detox, the getting off the stuff is just the ticket to the game. And then this work becomes a community of everyone trying to optimize, their health, their family, their relationships, their work, their career, their business. So you guys are doing that. So, try and specify and maybe write it down. That'd be cool.
What's your thoughts, Mike, just before we end, on like, so like something that I've always looked at is like being a higher value man, not with necessarily with ladies at all. It's more as like a
Yeah.
generalist for that is a goal, like a life goal of mine. So what have you sort of thought of anything into it, or like sort of what makes a high value man, or do you aspire to like sort of work towards that, whether that's finances or is it something that is tangible?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And it's a whole teach what you need to learn thing. It's like I do, to answer your question directly, yes. And that's one of the things I heard that I really just fell in love with and I've kind of embraced is, I think it was Naval Ravikant or one of those guys that he's like, wealth is not a money, it's not a number, it's not a, FU money or, big money. It's the set of transformations that you can create that gives you wealth, you know what I mean? And I love that definition. And that's kind of one of the things that I attach or, hold on to in a big way. Um, so, the people who come off of the egoic and the traditional what we look up to in society a little bit, and it always ends up that if you listen to podcasts or whatever, people who've attained what society believes is super huge or whatever, wealth or status or what have you, if they're honest and if they're, relatable and if they're, I think, real, they say it's all about, how can you help the next guy? What's the service that you provide? How are you helping others or in some way, shape, or form? So that's kind of my,
That's what you value it as, which obviously you do in your work because you've done that,
right.
you've done this process, and now you're trying to get other people to have the successes that you've sort of had
Right.
with it all. Would you say there's anything else that you maybe haven't reached at the moment, or a goal of yours that you would perceive as helping you take that next level to be a higher value person, man?
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a good question. So, yeah, I mean, I obviously want to grow this platform. I do want it to eventually include every type of addiction, from drinking, drugs, gambling, sex, whatever. I think the model works. I know the model works, and I know the answer is similar post abstinence, whatever it is. But there are nuances in each abstinence, whether it's a process addiction or a substance addiction. And addiction in general is, it's stigmatized still. And one of the things that's exciting in the summits that we do, the Quit Sugar Summit, and I'd like to do others like that, is that what's coming to the fore is this idea that this is a brain illness. This is a dopamine dysregulation issue. This is a dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, GABA, oxytocin, adrenals, endorphins, cannabinoid receptors. This is, and I use the term dopamine to include all of those things. This issue, which I think is the greatest pandemic the world has ever known of addiction, and I don't know if you guys know this, but in the United States, you can't use the word addiction anymore in proper, science. Addiction, addicts, junkie, it's all substance use disorder or process use disorder or, whatever. You can't use it for the stigmatization of the word. And when you look at it, if you just look at the food part and the obesity crisis and the mental health crisis, a lot of that is just a dopamine dysregulation problem. And so changing the societal norms around that, changing the societal acceptance of like, okay, this is like cancer, you got to get your treatment and you got to, and the treatment's, not some chemical or some pill or something. It's the work you and us guys are doing here today. And as we move forward, it's a different type of work. It's a different type of healing and change, but it's still something that is very real, and it's nowhere near that in society in general. So yeah, that kind of addiction recovery stuff, and to grow the business to the point, because if you can't pay people, if you can't grow, the process, like to date, the guy who kind of got a shingle out and helping people, that's cool, but that's not changing the awareness out there. I'll give you a perfect example in the United States, and I don't know, I think the same thing happened worldwide, but I think it happened because of the United States, is that the awareness of cigarette smokes was smoking cigarettes, before, it was a little bit before, but as it happened, the states, all the states got together and sued the tobacco companies, and got a big judgment, in the billions of dollars. But it took a decade or longer. And the $1 trillion advertising campaign that was that litigation, because every morning, I mean, back then it was newspapers and television, and, even before internet stuff, is like, every morning people would wake up to how bad cigarettes are and that they're, and so it was that $1 trillion advertising campaign that changed the societal perception, or the societal understanding and acceptance of what cigarettes were doing to people. And coincidentally, the cigarette companies, when they saw the handwriting on the wall, bought up all the food companies and changed their addiction model to the food, to the ultra processed food, where they understood that sugar was causing, and they would literally slide people into MRIs. They would see this in their brain, and then they would develop that product. It's sick, really. It's weaponization of the brain chemicals that we have. Anyway, the food part is just coincidental, but it was that awareness of of we went from 43% of the adult population smoke cigarettes down to below 14. And sugar, flour, caffeine, alcohol, they're always going to be available, but they're going to be like cigarettes, they're going to go down. It's going to go down. There's going to be, from this awareness that we're building. And I'm just happy to be a foot soldier in the building of that awareness, is
Yeah.
at the, you know.
Big goal of yours then is take over the No Sugar Nation world and help
Yeah.
people realize what's going on and
Yeah, and,
figure it
and
out.
strangely enough, here in the United States, with Robert Kennedy being announced as the Health and you know Human Services Secretary, this might be a big year, a big couple of years, because no president, and this is not political at all. I wasn't a fan of Trump's before, and I'm still not a huge fan, but he's the only guy that's not is gonna be able to take the heat when you start taking money away from states for subsidies for this, soy and corn and all this kind of crap, and you start, telling big pharma and big food they got to change what's in their food. They can't advertise to kids, and you start rocking the boat the way Elon's rocking the boat with the finances. It could model that description that I gave of the litigations with the states. You know what I mean? And the long and the short of it is, it might be a good year to be in the sugar reduction business, because an awareness happening right now. I mean, people come to me, they don't even know what a carb is, for God's sakes. They literally don't know what a carbohydrate is. They're the difference. And they think that food that they purchase in the grocery store is food. Like, there's no awareness that there's a delineation, like you guys have had to go through in the last 6 weeks. There's a separation of drug food and real food, whole food. And that'd be a big deal, will be a big deal.
Yeah. Really interesting, Mike. I appreciate that. I just wanted to dig a little bit onto it, but thank you
Oh,
for
I
that.
appreciate it. But guys, everybody, thank you. Wonderful, wonderful day or wonderful session.
We've got some diet plans, health scans, sugar bans, fitness fans, PTs, injuries, laying off the Chinese, ball games, gym chains, protein gains and skin tight tops, and we ain't gonna stop until we hit the 50k. Drop, 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 no excess fat, no FAT, no curry bag, no guarantee. Rough or buff, lean on me, we'll end up as fit as a bear.